Welcome back, everyone. So we're going to get into, this is week 4, so we're going to get into ecology this week. So this will be the start of ecology. We're going to look at population ecology. So last week we learned about adaptations, and recall that adaptations impact populations over time. And so we're going to start by looking at population ecology. So what impacts population growth, and the things that affect populations, whether it be density dependent factors or density independent factors, and things like carrying capacities and life history strategies and so forth. So this will be the beginning of ecology, and then next week we'll talk about community ecology and then ecosystem ecology and so forth. So let's get into our learning objectives for the week. So this week does carry a milestone. So you will be doing a data analysis. So this will be, part of the learning objective. Use the scientific method to conceive and conduct a short practical field project and prepare a short scientific paper on quantitative and graphical analysis. So that's part of the milestone this week. In the readings, you'll learn about population ecology. So by the end, you'll be able to describe how birth and death rates affect population change, as well as discuss why understanding reproductive effort and life history strategies requires mention of trade-offs. And then finally, we have a discussion post this week that deals with invasive species. So you should be able to discuss efforts to control or eradicate invasive species. So again, as I stated before, you will be going into our second milestone this week. And if you recall from the first milestone, you completed the introduction and methods section. And in the methods section, you discussed the McCannon data. So the McCannon data was one of the two bird data collection methods that we as scientists use to collect information about what type of birds were in the four areas of study in Belize. And so what we're actually going to do this week is we're going to analyze the McCannon data, so that particular method of data that we collected. And so you'll analyze it, the same way that scientists do that, and be able to represent that data in a visual format. So it'll actually end up being a graph with 4 lines on it. And so that way, once it's basically taking all of these numbers and making lines from it, the lines are a lot easier to interpret than a bunch of numbers on a spreadsheet. And so that we can make sense of it. And so that's, the whole purpose of analyzing data is to make sense of it. And that way we can, be able to understand which particular site maybe has better chances for us to save the most amount of birds. Okay, so this, is a good way for us to spend some time taking data and interpreting it. You also learn that it's very tedious work, but it's necessary work for us to make strong recommendations in the end. All right, so you have basically 2 chapters this week, so chapters 8 and 10. So 8 goes into, actually both of them go into populations. So you skip chapter 9, luckily, so just 2 chapters this week. And then you have an article on invasive species, okay? And then finally, the last one is just basically that same same O'Dea et al. Article that you read before, so you don't really need to read it again. Okay, so you can skip this if you want. All right. You will need to access the Mechanic data instructions though. All right, so let's get into our activities this week. So we have three. The first one being the discussion post. So this is actually my favorite discussion post. It's the most interesting to me. So it states here, many plant and animal species have been accidentally or intentionally introduced into an area outside their natural geographic range. So you're going to describe one introduced or invasive species that occurs near your home. Okay, so you can go into your state's, Fish and Wildlife Service website and, look up invasive species and choose one. Okay, so it could be a plant, it can be an animal. Okay, and then from there, you need to describe where it came from. Okay, so where did it originate from? And then is it spreading? And how does it impact native species? Okay, so all of that needs to be described in detail. And then more generally, how do you feel about efforts to try to eliminate and control invasive species, and what strategies do you think might work? So a lot of students forget this last part. They go into detail about the description of the invasive species, but then they don't give their opinion about it. Okay, so part of the assignment is to give your opinion about the strategies that you think might work to eliminate and or control the invasive species. All right, so do make sure that you include both parts in order to get full credit. So that part is due by Thursday midnight, and I highly recommend that in the subject line you put your invasive species, okay, instead of just discussion for or something like that. And then you'll choose 2 invasive species that you want to respond, and then in your response post, one easy way to get some research done is when you choose a student's post to respond to, look up and see if that student's invasive species that they wrote about occurs in your area. Okay, so for example, if another student is writing about, I don't know, the zebra mussel or something, look up and see if that occurs in your area too, and then see if what they wrote about, if those strategies are actually being implemented in your area as well. So that's a good way to get some research and add on as well. So those 2 response posts are due by Sunday midnight. And then you have your quiz, so that covers chapter 8 and 10, so just 2 chapters, so that means there's 10 questions worth 10 points. And then finally you have your milestone. So the milestone will be the data analysis of the Mechanic data. So I do have a video tutorial, so I posted that in the announcements. So it's a YouTube video that I basically will show you step by step how to complete this particular milestone. So when you watch the video, I highly suggest that you have the Excel spreadsheet open in front of you while you watch the video, and mimic my computer movements as well, okay, at the same time. So, you can kind of mirror it while I'm doing it. And that way you can kind of get used to the data analysis. It will be kind of tricky at first when you're kind of understanding the process, but then once you get the hang of it, it becomes really tedious because you have to do this for all 4 sites. Once you've completed the basically the analysis for one site, then you do the same thing for the other 3 sites. And then once you've completed all 4 sites, the graph will automatically, the data will automatically graph itself into the final graph. and that is what will be graded. So you don't actually have to format the graph in any way. It's already formatted how it's supposed to be. You don't need to change the graph. You don't need to separate the lines into 4 separate graphs. It needs to be 4 lines on the same graph, because that's how we interpret it. Okay, so watch my video. That's basically going to walk you through everything. Takes the guesswork out of everything. There is a set of instructions. The instructions are kind of confusing, which is why I created the video. If you once you've finished everything, then you just upload it. It's 95 points, so try to complete this by Sunday midnight so you don't lose any points for a late penalty. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Otherwise, good luck.